Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So, firstly, are Scarlet and Violet good games? That's a good question. Honestly, these games are really well made, and I do think that they have some really good merits. I've talked in the past about, I think at this point, I've talked about a few different games, and specifically I've talked about Sonic and how Sonic was a well-made game, but it was lacking on its story. Scarlet and Violet have really good, pretty much everything except for game design. There's lots of things about the game that it's just not well polished. And I think that that's what a lot of people are having big problems with. There are major glitches that cause huge problems for a lot of people, and with that comes, well, issues, to say the least. With these issues, we get things like people falling through the void into a great huge body of water underneath the entire freaking map. Just at random intervals. There's points where you can't see anything. You're supposed to, like, for example, there's a point near the beginning of the game where you're supposed to be looking out over the entire world map, and it's supposed to make you think, oh, this is beautiful, this is gorgeous, this is a huge open expansive area, and it looks like shit. Like, no joke, that one area, that is one of my biggest complaints with the game, is right at the beginning, you see this huge open area, and it's just terrible design, and it looks awful. When you're up close to things, the game looks fantastic. Trees are well rendered, different characters look fantastic, but even just a few feet away, well, a few yards away, you're meeting up with these slow characters that are going at maybe like a frame a second, maybe 5 frames a second. But the point still remains that everything is kind of weird. And I think that while we could put that up to the Switch as a whole, I honestly don't think that that's the issue. I think that the major issue with all of these little problems is that the game was rushed. And that's kind of been the situation with a lot of Pokemon games lately, is that they rush into these things. They try to get these games done really fast, and they're not really meant to be done at a breakneck speed, because if you are releasing these games every single year, eventually you're gonna get to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and it's gonna look bad. Remember that when this whole thing started to happen, Pokemon was on, it was on consoles that could only really do 2D stuff. And at the time, there were things that were making 3D models all over the place. Like, remember, we had it being 2-dimensional all the way until Black and White. Kalos was the first one that was fully 3D, and throughout that entire time, we have been there's been games all over the place that have been 3-dimensional. Games that are truly breathtaking were already coming into existence on the Xbox and PlayStation. Even the Wii and the Wii U were already still getting some pretty amazing games going onto their systems, many of which were 3D. And the DS, that could handle the DS, even the Game Boy Advanced, was able to deal with many of these ideas that they wanted to do, that other companies wanted to do, making 3D animation as early as, like I said, even Game Boy Color, maybe even sometimes the Game Boy itself, it was not great, but there were still certain things with that. And the first time that Pokemon really delved into 3D models for a main series game, that being the key term there, was when they eventually made it to the 3DS, which was very, very weird that was the first game to actually do that. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things with that. But even then, up until Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, they weren't really trying to push the limits as far as they have been. Sure, Sword and Shield got pretty close, but even then, it was nowhere near as advanced as they were trying to push it for Scarlet, Violet, and Arceus. And that's insane to think about. They had all of these... one of the biggest things that you're going to be dealing with when you're making a game is reuse assets. And this is the really the first time that they haven't really been able to do that to the full extent. They've been having to remake models quite insanely over the past few years because of how much people are wanting the 3D models. Since Kalos, basically, they've expected them to always make 3D models, and that's one of the big reasons why we didn't get a lot of Pokemon in Sword and Shield or Legends Arceus or, may I remind you, Scarlet and Violet. Even these only have 400 Pokemon. Meanwhile, games up until Kalos were pretty much having every single Pokemon be available. It's insane. Sure, they would redo some models and stuff, but doing that in a two-dimensional state to another two-dimensional state is much easier than going from 2D to 3D, not to mention trying to improve the graphics each game. Yeah, I can understand losing your mind a little bit. So, yeah. Obviously, problems, I understand them. I've done a little bit into that whole situation. But let's talk about where these games really excel, and that is the story. This game is the first one that is truly an open world, and I do mean that with 100% sincerity. Literally, you get your Pokemon, you can go literally anywhere. That idea, the idea that literally as soon as you get your Pokemon, you can go anywhere you want in the entire world. Granted, you can't actually do the gyms until you've completed the stuff at the school, but once you have your Pokemon, you can literally go anywhere. Once you've completed the school, you can do any gym leader, any team star, any freaking the actual classes. You could do all of them. You can do literally anything. The only exception to this rule is that you can't face Dondozo until you get the ability to go over water. That's it. That the last of the Titan that should be your last. That is the only one that you cannot do until you have gotten the ability to go over water. Literally anything else you can do in any order that you want, and that is incredible. Literally, you could go to any location on this map and actually do that. Sure, you're going to need to grind your Pokemon up to a very high level if you want to start at the very end of the game and then come to the front. But at the same time, you could do it. If you really, really want, you could go all the way to the very last Team Star member, face off against her, defeat her, and then go back and do literally anything else. And pretty much everything else would be a breeze, but you can do that. And I think that is both a good thing and a bad thing. I think that one thing that they should have done with that is kind of something that they've explained that they do in the anime, and that is that at least the gyms are actually they change their style depending on how exactly what level you are, or rather how many gym badges you have. And I think that that would be a very fun way to do things. Um, in fact, Jello Apocalypse actually made a video on kind of the same concept of what he thinks he would love to see if they were to ever do a full his idea for a Pokemon game where where you can literally go anywhere you want and you can face off against the gym leaders however you want. He did give like you can go certain areas will be different levels and stuff like that, which I agree. I think that that is a very smart idea and a good way to handle things. But with that, it means that you can literally go anywhere. You can explore the entire map. You can go and battle things, and like they explain in the Origins anime, the trainers would actually choose the gym leaders and the gym trainers would choose certain numbers of Pokemon to use if they're going to face off against you. And one of the things that I really loved about his idea is that if you have 8 gym battles or 8 gym badges, they will actually fight you for real. They will have a fully leveled up team that you have no idea what exactly they have in store for you, but it would be insane to think about. Imagine a game where they have literally every single mechanic from all of the previous games. Imagine having the ability to mega evolve your Pokemon, to Gigantamax your Pokemon, to use a Z move, to use literally anything. The terastallization phenomenon. Literally any of these abilities you can use in an actual battle. Imagine that for a moment. That is something that I think a lot of fans would absolutely love to see, a game where you can actually be Ash. You can have every single Pokemon on your team having insane abilities, having your different Pokemon that are so powerful that you won't wipe the floor with everyone, but the gym leaders could actually do that as well. Imagine that game. It would be incredible. One of the things that I loved about this game is that the terrestrialized Pokemon, they could be in a Pokemon that has nothing to do with the actual main game, with their specific type, but then they terrestrialize it into something else. That's insane, because it would be a wild card that you have no idea what you're going to be going up against. And if they did that for every single one of these bosses, where maybe they don't even terrestrialize it for some of them, because it's a wild card, and they can terrestrialize it or they cannot. Maybe you expect them to terrestrialize them right away, but maybe they don't. It's just an idea that is so incredible, and so many ideas have popped into my head because of this game, and I want to see more. Not to mention the story. Oh my gosh, there has never been a game where I have wanted to play through the entire game with a group of friends than ever before. This game, the whole point of it is that you are teaming up with your friends. No joke, I want to see when they actually do the DLC, I want to be traveling with the 3 companions as you go into that new area that pretty much all of us are thinking is Lower Kalos, if not all of Kalos. So, yeah, I would love to see all of us as a team going up to Southern Kalos and facing off against whatever's up there. Like, can you imagine? Because this is going to be, if we go there, more than likely we're getting Mega Evolutions back, which, yes, please. I know that I'm probably one of the few people who well, that's wrong. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would love to have Mega Evolutions back, but can you imagine if we're actually going to be doing that in the next, in the DLC? That would be incredible, especially if you're teaming up with all of your friends. Because, honestly, you have only really seen Arven and, Nimona actually battle, and you've battled them. Sure, you can. I believe you can battle. You do battle Penny every now and again, but you haven't really seen her go all out. She wanted to lose that battle, and that's yeah. You've never seen her go all out, and she's a real wild card because of the fact that she could literally have any evolution on her team, and it's going to be incredible. Think if that was the way that they introduced a new evolution. What if that was the way that they decide, you know what? We're going to reveal that there's actually several different evolutions. Or maybe instead that if you have a very special Eevee, it will never evolve, but instead it has an ultimate form where technically has every single one of the types, and it's a, I don't know, something cool would be really cool with that, because that's what Eevee is. It changes depending on what type you want it to be. Imagine if that was something that they could actually do, where, I don't know, it's hard to say exactly what they would do with that, but imagine if that was how they introduced that to us. I would love it. I absolutely would. Um, and not to mention, like I said, Arven and Nimona, they too have truly amazing stories that I want to see more of. I would love to continue to travel the world. My favorite part of these games is the very end, where you are walking with your friends through the crater just to save Arven's parents. And I love it. I love the whole concept with it. I would also absolutely love to see that in these games, since obviously his current, whatever game you got, if you got Violet, it's Professor Toro, and Sada, I believe, is in Scarlet. Those are both his parents, and one of them dies at the end, whichever one you got for the game. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but these games have been out for months. But with that, both of those characters die, but they actually say that the other parent left. Imagine if finally that parent comes back. So in Violet you would have Sada, and in Scarlet you would have Toro, and they would actually be decent parents because they found out that their partner has died, so they come back to see Arven and help him through his grief. I don't know exactly what they would do, but there's so much more story that is packed into these games that we haven't seen yet, and I want to see it. No joke, like, this is the first Pokemon game where I have literally thought, I want a sequel. I want this to have a sequel or something, a continuation of the story, because it's incredible. It truly, truly is. And with that, I think I can actually predict what we're going to be seeing in the next Pokemon game. Because I think, have learned a lot from Scarlet and Violet as well as Legends Arceus. Firstly, they at this point know that people want the battle system from Arceus, obviously with a few changes, and the catching mechanic. You can hide in the grass and then throw your Pokeball without ever battling them, and maybe if you fail to catch them, then the Pokemon turns on you and you are forced to battle them, or something like that. That would be incredible. I think that the way that it worked in Arceus worked really well for the time, for that time. But now that we're in the modern times, with all of the training and all of that stuff going on, imagine being able to sneak around with your Pokemon and just throw a Pokeball at whatever you're facing off against, and then sometimes you'll catch it, sometimes you won't. And you never really know until you've done it. And that is insane to me. Also, let all of your Pokemon out. Like, come on, I would love to see that. 100%, I want to be able to walk around with all 6 of my Pokemon following me around. I want that fun. I want to be able to see them interacting with each other. Like, I love the mechanic that they have for the picnics, and I want that to continue into an so that you can bring out all of them whenever you want, and they will just run around you. Maybe you can send them all out to fight, and they'll just decimate an entire, uh, uh, pretty much whatever is in your way. I don't know. Something like that would be really incredible. Continue what they did with Violet and Scarlet, where they won't attack a shiny Pokemon, but improve on it. Little things that they can improve. And I think that they've got a formula for what they can do for their next game. Aspects from Arceus, aspects from Scarlet and Violet, but the other thing is bring back the old mechanics. I'm dead serious. I think that if they brought back every single mechanic, fans would rejoice. Because we just saw in the most recent stuff with the anime that Ash used all of his Pokemon, well, not all of his Pokemon, but his entire team that he had, and he used pretty much every single mechanic. He used the Z move, he used Mega Evolution, he used Gigantamax, he didn't use Terrestrialization, but that's because that didn't exist yet. That still doesn't exist for him yet. But I expect that his kid in the new series is going to be using Terrestrialization for sure, but imagine if she uses every single mechanic because her father was able to do that too. Just, that would be absolutely incredible to see. Also, I really want an episode where we get to see every single one of Ash's Pokemon all together. That would be incredible. But on top of that, that's actually a point that I want to bring up for Pokemon itself, and that is a Pokemon farm. Maybe not a farm, but basically, I want something where you are able to have all of your Pokemon roaming in an area, and this will basically be your PC, and you're going to have all of your Pokemon roaming around in this area, and you can see whichever Pokemon you want to see. You can you can go talk to them or whatever, and just explore with all of your different Pokemon, and just walk in that area. Maybe they'll be playing, and you'll be able to watch them. And I think that one thing that would be really cool about that is they will just interact with each other how they would in the wild, but they wouldn't attack you. They would just see you as a friend, as another Pokemon, so they would just continue going about their daily things. Maybe some of them that you developed a close relationship with, they'll run up to you and follow you around for a bit, but but after a little while, they'll run back and enjoy their time in the farm. I think that would be absolutely incredible to see. So I think that there's a lot of different things that they've done in these past two games that they now know that's where they're going. And I hope that with all of the information that they are receiving from the fans, Pokemon decides that they are going to take their time. That is the biggest thing that I've been saying for the past while. Pokemon needs to take their time. Do not expect the next Pokemon game to be coming out this year, or if it is going to be releasing this year, do not expect it to be specifically coming from Game Freak. Instead, I think that it is more likely to expect something like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl to be coming out from the other company as basically a it'll be a different thing for basically what was going on with the Black and White games. I'm not certain exactly what they'll do, but I'm expecting that to be what they're going to be going forward with. But one final thing, if we are going to be getting another the next Pokemon game, the next major Pokemon game, have it be one game. Because I think that is something that many fans are realizing that needs to be the case from now on. Because remember that with this game, something really weird happened. Rather than it being an even split between the two games, pretty much everyone went for Violet. Even me and my friends, our first game for me and the Nerd Chat crew, we all started with Violet. And then when I actually started doing my trading to see and get every single Pokemon, pretty much 90% of the people that I tried to trade with would try to send me something from Violet rather than something from Scarlet, which I was often what I needed was from Scarlet, not Violet. So keep that in mind for next time, because I think at this point, while trading can be a very fun and useful mechanic, it needs to be better designed. It needs to be something that is, maybe having 2 games is less of a good option, because certain fans are going to be going more for one game than another. For example, I think that a good number of M&G TV's fans, they went for Scarlet. A lot of what's his name went for Violet, and so on and so forth. Different people went for different games, but it seemed like the majority went for Violet. So we'll see. I don't know exactly, but keep that in mind for the future as we continue on with Pokemon. Maybe Arceus was one of the best games up to this point, and it was just one game. Maybe think about doing that from now on. Who knows? But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. And of course, if you want to talk, if you have any theories about Miraculous, Pokemon, whatever I talk about, leave them down in the comments below, and we'll talk about it in a future video. But anyways, guys, I have been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!